Hello and welcome to Full Throttle in association with the Alliance of British Drivers here on Unprecedented TV. I'm Paul Naylor, Director of Communications for the ABD, and each week, alongside my very dear friend and colleague Brian Gregory, we cut through the headlines, challenge the policies affecting everyday people, and bring a healthy dose of common sense to the issues that matter the most. And while our roots are firmly in championing Britain's motorists, the conversation doesn't stop there. From transport and taxation to energy, the economy and government policy, we're here to ask the questions others won't. And today, the focus will be on climate science.
Hi, I'm Brian Gregory, Policy Director at the ABD. So whether you're behind the wheel every day or simply interested in the issues shaping Britain's future, this is the place for informed discussion and honest debate. In this edition, we're going to talk to the renowned astrophysicist, climate scientist and principal of the Weather Action website, Piers Corbyn. Buckle up, this is Full Throttle and it's going to be a really interesting episode.
Certainly will. Hello, Piers.
Piers, welcome.
Hello.
Welcome. And thank you very much for joining us today. It's much appreciated.
Fantastic to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. The issue we want to kick around really today is the science behind climate change and what the reality is as opposed to the sort of, well, pseudo junk science we're being provided with by the IPCC.
Yeah, well, that's flattering to even call it that. I would call it anti-science.
I was being polite. So, Piers, first, for any of our viewers, and a lot of them are sort of petrol heads, can you just give us a brief sort of bio of, you know, what your background is and how you ended up forming Weather Action and what it provides and the accuracy that it provides as well, because that's a key issue.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Piers Corbyn. Well, from about 6 years old, I was interested in the weather and science and used to do all sorts of things and even built what I was a dew pond was the idea in the garden, which didn't work. It didn't collect any dew, but, you know. And then I set up a weather station later on when I was living in Newport, Shropshire, and went to Imperial College, got a first-class degree in physics, in theoretical physics. And then I did an MSc in astrophysics at Queen Mary College. I'd always maintained an interest in the weather and climate and was particularly interested in solar activity and how it could affect the weather. Well, long story, but developed a way in which we can use solar activity and predict it a long time ahead. And even did some peer-reviewed papers which showed that our prediction of storms 2 years ahead was accurate.
Yeah.
And now we produce forecasts for the British Isles and America and Europe, although we're behind with some of those productions. But the British Isles, you can get it straight away. And we've got them available right now up to October. And where we say we're 85% accurate, but the farmers who use us say, no, Piers, it's better than that. You're 90% right.
Yeah, and that compares with what's the sort of Met Office and the other NASA. They're much lower.
Their predictions more than a week or so ahead are basically noise. So they just give you long-term averages. They admit they can't. Well, they don't like to admit they can't do it, and they don't want to use me because I don't agree with the climate story. Whereas they're always just propagating the climate story and saying, oh, it's got hot because of CO2, which, of course, is completely counter to the truth.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And weatheraction.com is where people can come to get to.
Okay. Yeah. So we will put that on the finished video. We will trailblaze the website URL so that people can visit it. And you do commercial forecasts for companies, don't you, who are interested, you know, growers and people like that. So they can pay to get it.
Big farms, small farms. We've had all sorts of big businesses on board. We were floated on the stock exchange for a while. We came off and are now acting independently. But that was a very good time. And we had, electricity companies, a lot of them, energy traders buying forecasts. Indeed, some of them still do, obviously, and the insurance companies as well.
Okay, right. So let's crack into the slides that I've tried to put together. And bear in mind, I'm a chemist by background, not a physicist. Okay. So we'll probably reach very similar conclusions, but the fine detail you may take issue with, and that's fine, because that's what scientists do. We discuss theories and we find out which is the best one. We don't do it by consensus. We do it because the model that works is the one. It's
science
the one we
is
choose.
not consent or consent.
Exactly, it's exactly the opposite. Yes, right. Okay. So first slide. So this is the first of three. Piers, okay?
Yeah. Okay.
So climate change is caused by variations in solar activity, like Bray, Eddy, de Vries, Seuss, Milankovitch cycles, solar inertia. Inverse related ones in cosmic ray incidence, because we'll show some graphs that show that basically they're the inverse. As solar activity goes up, cosmic ray incidence on the Earth comes down. Together, those determine how much energy comes from the sun and is absorbed by the Earth, because the oceans are at the 3/4 of the Earth's surface. No, sorry, about 2/3 of the Earth's surface. And the rest is land, but all that can do is get heated up and then radiate, whereas the oceans are a sink because of convection currents and things like that, where a huge amount of energy is stored for long periods. Okay. So that primarily determines the amount of solar energy. Oh, I've just said what I've just said again. So second slide, please, Charlotte.
Okay.
So there's here we go. Net oceanic solar absorption determines ocean current strengths and short-term weather trends, coupled with long-term surface subaquatic volcanicity variations that have cyclical extraterrestrial origins. You end up with a complex overlapping interaction over multiple time scales that jointly determine ocean temperatures and currents, and hence our climate. So this is not a simple model. This is extremely complex. Right. And then the third one. Oh, the third one's the same as the second. So so we can right. This is I started to get interested in this because of Egil Frisk Christensen and then Henrik Svensmark and his colleagues. I read a book many years ago called The Chilling Stars. And the explanation for how our climate works seem much more logical and compelling than any suggestion that carbon dioxide was the control knob. So basically, it's a fairly complex job. But basically, the sun sends out solar radiation. There's also a background of cosmic rays. The interaction between those affects, particularly over the oceans, not so much over land areas, because there's lots of sources of cloud nuclei like sulfates and whatnot over land that also influence it. But over the sea, the vast majority of the Earth's surface area, it's this kind of mechanism that actually generates low-level cloud, and low-level cloud determines how much radiation reaches the oceans, because the cloud either reflects some of it, or it passes through and then goes into the oceans. So it's a complex mechanism, but the relationships are there. We know that from the science. If we go on to the next slide, Charlotte, please. This shows the relationship, or inverse relationship indeed, between cosmic ray incidence on the Earth's surface and sunspots. So the more active the sun, the less cosmic rays, and so the less clouds, and so the more solar radiation reaches the Earth, so the Earth warms. Against the background that the Earth is sitting in a medium which is at 3 to 4 degrees Kelvin, which is interplanetary space. And the second law of thermodynamics works because heat doesn't go from hot places to other hot places. It goes from hot places to cold ones, and the cold one is interplanetary space at 3 Kelvin. So, ultimately, that the energy the Earth absorbs is always being whipped out to interplanetary space, and it's a balance all the time between incoming energy and exiting energy, which ultimately exits by radiation.
Yep.
Okay.
Very good.
And then showing that we've shown the cosmic ray and sunspot relationship. If we now look at cloud cover and cosmic rays, which is the next slide.
Okay.
And basically it shows temperature anomaly and cloud cover. And you can see as cloud cover comes down, temperatures basically go up. Not anything contentious about that.
No.
Over and above all that, we have all these issues around ocean currents, like the Pacific Decadal Oscillation, the Atlantic Meridional overturning current. So all of these things are redistributing energy that's been absorbed ultimately from the sun across the whole Earth.
Yep.
And we get these effects called El Niños and La Niñas. And there's the next chart really shows that those over the last sort of decadal periods between the 50s and 2010, we've had various instances where we've either had a La Nina, which is a cooling event, or an El Nino, and those also very much affect the climate in the short to medium term.
Yep.
Okay. The next effect, and I accept there's some contentiousness about this next slide I'm going to put up, because some people argue that cosmic rays, particularly the most energetic ones, are captured by the magma at the Earth's core, because it's the only substance dense enough to capture cosmic rays, and that acts like a kettle effect almost, because the more cosmic rays the magma absorbs, the more excited it becomes, and so that stimulates volcanic activity. But I think it's very difficult to prove that, but it should still be mentioned as a theory that some people hold.
Okay.
Yeah. The next one really just shows the Spencer satellite temperature data from the late 70s through to the modern period. And that basically shows that there's been a warming. It's about 1.6 degrees a century, arguably, and that's true. Nobody's disputing that at all. But what the dispute about is what's causing it. And the warmists say it's entirely down to carbon dioxide, and people like you and I say it's down to a whole range of complex factors, of which carbon dioxide is a minor part. And for me, one of the interesting things here is that at the very right-hand side of the temperature graph, and sorry, these readings are produced by a calibrated satellite measurements.
Satellite readings.
So they're not from urban stations, which are all poisoned now by urban heat island effects, and also by the fact that the Met Office's stations, most of them are junk signs class 5. Very few of them remain that are class 1, which is
they quote those when they get hot days.
But anyway, I wanted to come back. The big spike you see at the end here, there's a dispute about it, but my contention is that was caused by the Hunga Tonga eruption, and Hunga Tonga was one of the few eruptions which was subaquatic, and it punched a whole raft of water vapor up into the stratosphere where it doesn't normally reside. And of course, water vapor is the most potent, abundant global warming gas, and responsible for 3/4, if not more, of the warming effect. And what we've seen since that spike is that gradually the water vapor is percolating back down, either falling back down into the normal atmosphere and then getting involved in condensation and revaporization in the atmosphere, and that temperature spike is gradually sort of being effectively radiated away. The other thing that's interesting is that the climate change zealotry argues that there is a reinforcement mechanism between water vapor and carbon dioxide, and that once you get a spike, it should continue as more water vapor causes more carbon dioxide absorption. Absorption of heat, and that causes more water vapor to be evaporated. So you get a positive feedback loop that basically, boils the earth. Well, it's quite obvious that that doesn't happen, because the spike started and then it fell down through natural variation.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So this idea of a tipping point is just complete nonsense.
Yes, it's propaganda.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the next two slides, these essentially come from.
There was only 2 slides altogether, or 3 slides.
No, these last two. These come from. These two come from the work of Svensmark and Nir Shaviv, and there's some contentiousness around this. But what they argue is that
he's basically wrong. But I'll come to that later.
All right. Well, go on. Yeah. Okay. Well, take us through this. You're the real expert on this, Piers. Take us through the pentahedron, as I've called it, and what are the holes in it, if you like, or where are the.
Okay, so you finished what you need to say, have you?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, right. Well, there's a lot in there, and it's mostly right, but as I said to the president when he was in the wrong country, almost right, Mr. President. First of all, you say a lot about cosmic rays.
Yeah.
Now, it's like there's obviously energy comes from cosmic rays and from what I would call solar cosmic rays or solar particles. So talking about the particles, first of all, and the energy therein. Well, if the cosmic ray blocking effect or the solar cosmic rays directly were the drivers, you'd have to have an 11-year cycle in world temperatures as a prime cycle, but we do not have that. We have a 22-year cycle, right? So let's be clear. If Svensmark is right, the 11-year cycle of solar activity amount will negate cosmic rays with an 11-year cycle and make a warming and cooling cycle of 11 years, which is not there. It's a 22-year cycle. So it must be to do the effects of cosmic rays of any sort must be to do with the sun's cosmic rays itself, and they are magnetically linked to the Earth in a 22-year cycle, because the sun's magnetic direction flips every 11 years. The 22 years is observed, the 11 years is not. So the idea that the cosmic rays are the driver of anything is incorrect. So that's the most important thing to understand. So then looking through the details, well, what actually goes on is that we have this magnetic solar particle connection, and that is also modulated by the moon. So we're going to have lunar effects as well. And very specifically, if you look at the beats between the 22-year double sunspot magnetic cycle and lunar effect, you get 58 years as a big important thing, which is of course the beat period of the Pacific Decadal Oscillation, and it appears in a whole lot of weather data. So that is going on. Now, the actual mechanisms are not, I think, about what's happening on the surface of the sea. That is important, yes, but it's what's happening in the jet stream. So the jet streams and all that gets maneuvered around due to solar magnetic activity. And that enables we to understand how to predict circulation patterns. So it's driven by that. And what goes on under the sea, of course, is important too. But all right. And then I should say, look,
so the jet stream,
comment,
the jet stream can follow a sort of a planar pattern around the Arctic and Antarctic, but sometimes you get what a sort of meridional effect where the jet stream
yeah.
buckles,
Absolutely.
and that's what we've got at the moment with this heat dome over Europe. Yeah, and
very important.
And that relates to
fundamental.
Yeah. Okay.
So we predict all those things. Now, obviously, it's extremely complicated. And I remember years ago, I said to Professor Tom Kibble at Imperial College, I had this idea about predicting solar activity. And he looked at me, he said, Piers, that will be very difficult. But I've done it. So, unfortunately, he's dead now to appreciate this. But the connection with CO2 is zero. The data shows that carbon dioxide levels are driven by temperatures, not the other way around.
Exactly.
I've said this in Imperial College to the head of department then. What was her name? And it was in a meeting where they were trying to entertain school children, and she said, "Oh yes, Piers, that's true. But when the extra CO2 comes, it's going to make a warmer blip." Now that is not shown in any graphs. But she then just said, "Isn't that so, children?" And they all cheered. So it was a recruitment game. But let's be clear: the greenhouse effect theory is fake science. It doesn't work at all because the second law of thermodynamics, as you mentioned, says you have to have heat moving from a warm area to a cold area. Now, their theory, when they draw a diagram, requires extra radiation, back radiation, we call it, coming from the upper atmosphere due to the CO2 infrared radiation. Well, okay, so they're requiring heat from a cold area to warm up a warmer area down below. Now, that is a nonsense, and it does not work. So the whole of the greenhouse theory is incorrect, and CO2 is completely a slave of temperatures driven by circulation patterns controlled by solar magnetic activity in the upper atmosphere. And what happens in the oceans is not the driver either. Now, you might wonder, well, how the hell do we understand all this to make a long-range forecast? Well, the answer is complicated, but we can predict when there's going to be extra activity hits from the sun, and we can generally know when we've got to look in the past for when there's been similar sun, earth, magnetic, lunar modulation, and stratospheric wind, quasi-biennial oscillation patterns, and use the weather in the past to be a first stab at the weather in the future. First stab, I say. So it's not clockwork, right? But that's what we do. But it is.
Piers, I can ask a question
on the upper, on the atmosphere, not on the sea, and definitely nothing to do with galactic cosmic rays.
So does the work that Valentina Zarkova's been doing at Northumbria University fit in and help with what you're doing? Because she's looked at the effect of the sun's magnetic fields as a poloidal and a toroidal field, and they can either interact and reinforce or interact and cancel, and that affects solar background radiation effectively.
Well, probably, but I find her stuff difficult to understand. And when I've spoken to her in meetings, often about the 11-year and 22-year cycle, her responses didn't make much sense. But I would repeat, it's a solar magnetic thing is the prime.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure what she says is relevant, but I don't fully understand it's how it works. What we do enables us to make long range forecasts. I don't think what she does enables long range forecasts. It gives description, yes. But,
you were hinting before, Piers, about how children are being sort of like misled on the science relating to the climate. How long do you think that's been going on? Because
a long time.
My children are sort of 25 and 23, and they seem to have been impacted by it.
Well, absolutely, they have. But when my son was 7, he came back from school and said, "Dad, I'm in charge of EcoMates." And I knew he'd be in charge of things for sure. And I said, "What's that?" He said, "Oh, yes." He went on about climate changing the planet. I said, "Look, you're collecting paper. That's good. is lying on the floor, but you ain't saving no planet. And that upset him, of course, you know. But they'd like to know they're doing something good for the world, and
But it's like this current phase of warm weather that we're enjoying and should be enjoying. Has got to have a label put on it, and people are being scaremongered by the fact that we're having a nice brief bit of warm weather. It's so frustrating. I mean,
it's called summer,
yeah, exactly. It's called
happens every year.
It's something that we don't get enough of this often enough, do we?
No.
You know, and just comparing it to 76, so 50 years ago, when we had the same sort of weather conditions, and
for a long period.
We did.
You know, we might get it for long periods like that again. Who knows? But you know, the way it was reported back then was reported the same way as it is in terms of pictures. Little kids eating ice lollies out on the beach. But then there's that doom mongering text put over the top of it. We're all doomed. We're all doomed. How do we stop this message from being incorrectly put out there about the impact of CO2?
Well, basically, we just have to say it's lies. But the best graph we have, in fact, I should go and get it to show it to you, that carbon dioxide temperatures follow changes in temperature. And that's shown by, you know, tens of thousands of years of data. When kids see that, they mostly understand graphs, and that is important. And then you said, they say, but why are we told things untrue? I said, well, it's to make you follow a narrative and be controlled. And
it's a control.
I think they understand that.
Yeah.
It's about control, about paying your carbon tax, about not driving your car, about staying in a 15-minute city. I mean, all of these things come together. So the ABD raising this is really important. You know, it's raising the big picture. It's not, they are anti-car, yes, but the anti-car isn't just hatred of cars. It comes from a completely false narrative.
Yeah, we were discussing this recently, Brian and myself, and a guest on one of our other shows. We were saying that for centuries the control was religion, and then for a long time after that it was the bomb, and now it's climate change, and it's all about fear and control.
Climate change is a new religion. Well, of course, they put science on the top of it as a new religion, so they don't like me turning up anywhere saying I'm a scientist. Whereas they say scientists say. Well, when a journalist says scientists say, it usually means he made it up. But sometimes there are scientists who say things, but they don't have anything to back it up. They just say greenhouse effect, and then you challenge them, and they'll go and just disappear.
Yeah.
I'm just looking to see if I can find one of the.
You look for that. And I'll fetch that there.
Okay. All right.
You're both looking for the same graph.
Similar.
So another thing that I don't think is fully appreciated is that we're still warming up from the previous ice age.
Yeah, absolutely.
Factor. Here we go.
Oh, it might be a bit big to show on this screen, but let's give it a go.
Charlotte, if you can alter it so that we can see Piers wider, so we can see this map, this graph.
I don't know if you can see it. I can't see what you're seeing very well.
Yeah, maybe that's the problem.
Can you see that?
Yes, sort of. Yeah.
So it shows the green is CO2 and the other one is temperature, and the CO2 changes follow changes in temperature. Yeah. So that is very fundamental, and you can get that graph and other graphs if you download our pamphlet, Man-Made Climate Change Does Not Exist, and you get that on weatheraction.com, and you find that very useful. It's good discussion, information, and so forth.
Brilliant. Well, we have an in-house magazine. I think we might take some extract from that. If you reckon that, Piers. Who's got an alarm going on?
I was going to the one that I quite like is I'll send it to Charlotte now and see if she can. It's the geological one that goes back a long way, and you can see carbon dioxide and temperature often move in the opposite directions, and it goes back millions of years.
Yes.
So I'll just, if Charlotte can put that up for us, that would be really good.
Yes, I just thought of another graph. Sorry, I was weak.
Right. Right, I'm just sending this graph to you, Charlotte, if you can put it up for us, because it explains exactly what Piers is talking about, and says, you know, really the correlation is only good part of the time, and that's as he says, when the temperatures are, I mean, it's essentially the carbon dioxide is driven by Henry's law, really.
Yes. Well,
when the temperature of the oceans goes up, CO2 gets degassed because the solubility of carbon dioxide in seawater is lower, and then when the temperature cycle reverses, then it goes the other way, and the absorption becomes primary. But the point is that it's always in a sort of a steady state situation, either going up or coming down, because the Earth's a dynamic system. It's not static, and never has been, never will be static. And
that's right.
Charlotte,
yes,
did you manage to
non-equilibrium thermodynamics?
Yeah.
And of course there's a big delay because the circulation patterns of the Earth, in a warm time, the CO2 that's come off then melts some ice, and then the CO2 gets absorbed into the ocean off Greenland.
Yeah.
Circulates around, and 700 or 800 years it comes out.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a huge lag.
So there's an 800-year delay. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Brian,
yeah.
Charlotte's asking which email address you sent it to.
I've just sent it now.
Yeah, which one? Which address?
It's only got one thing attached to it.
No, which email address did you send it to?
The one she asked me to, the previous one.
Charlie. Yeah.
Right, now I'll show you a little graph here you might like. This is about geomagnetic activity and global temperature. And if you put it on the 11-year solar cycle, I don't know, can you see that?
Go back a bit more. Yeah, almost.
No, not that one, Charlotte. It's that right. Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
It's some kind of following, but as a wobble, right? That's 11-year cycle. Now, I showed these in 2004 in the Russian Academy of Sciences. If you put them on the 22-year magnetic cycle, you get this absolutely fantastic correlation.
Yeah. You can go wide.
So that is the geomagnetic activity averaged over the Hale cycle, the 22-year cycle of the sun, and the corresponding world temperature. That is incredible.
There must be a very high.
Must be a very high correlation that it's a magnetic link with solar activity, and it rules out the galactic cosmic rays, which would have to have been primary, because that would give you a primary 11-year cycle, and then the first graph would have to be the best, not the second one.
Right, I'll have to send this again because Charlotte says she hasn't got it. Well, it's gone to the right email. Well, I'll just.
Perhaps Elon Musk is watching us.
Yeah, perhaps he is. Yeah.
In fact, he certainly is. I've had an AI Elon Musk phone me up saying, "Hello, I'm Elon Musk, and I want you to buy my latest pyramid selling game." It was really amusing. And you talk to this thing, it says, "Oh, so you have to send me a text."
Yeah,
but apparently it's not Elon Musk at all. It's someone else scamming, pretending they're Elon Musk.
In
order to get you to buy a pretend. hilarious.
Okay, good. I've resent that slide to Charlotte on both her email addresses, so hopefully she'll pick it up in a second. But it basically looks at how carbon dioxide temperature have varied over the last 500 million years.
She's got it.
Okay, all right. Well, it should come up in a second.
Yeah.
But it really, if you try to look at any kind of correlation coefficient, it'll be practically zero.
You can't see it, no, isn't it? It's not there. It is a
no, absolutely. And the temperatures have shown massive changes over that period, and so have the CO2 levels. And current levels we're actually almost in CO2 famine at the moment.
Yeah,
compared with the past.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And in terms of temperature spikes, in the interglacial periods, like the 10,000 year we're in now, there's a kind of a warming spike every 1,000 years. So we're in the 10th one now, and this is the coolest warming spike of the last 10,000 years.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's the non-correlation of CO2 and
absolutely. Yeah, you can see the CO2 is purple, the temperature's the sort of cyan, the blue color, and the worry is that if you look at the trend line in terms of temperatures, it's going downwards. So we're not in any risk of going to any global boiling tipping point, as Madman Guterres says. We're more at risk of slipping into another ice age. I mean, we've been coming out of the Pleistocene ice age, I think it is now. But the trend, if anything, is that we could be slipping backwards, not at any risk of warming. And what we are doing is compromising our energy security to satisfy these net zero lunatics. And actually, if we are on the other end of the slope and we're going downwards into a dipping climate, we'll be in the worst place possible, because we won't have the energy resources to keep ourselves warm and to grow crops and stuff. It'll be a disaster.
Yeah, we'll have to have polytunnels all over Russia, I think. Under the snow, something like that. But we are heading for a new full ice age within about 1,000 years, I would think. And then, well, it won't just be the Scots coming here, but the Russians will come as well.
Well, I mean, but essentially that's what's happened in the past, that the global population expands towards the poles in warm eras, and they all migrate back towards the equator in cold periods.
That's right.
And the idea that humanity is any kind of threat from warmer temperatures is completely wrong, because every historical period where there's been a warm event, societies have flourished. And then when there's been cooling, dark ages and things like that, society has regressed.
The medieval warm period was a fantastic time to be around.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All those churches, everything, there was surplus value produced by human activity, because the farming was more effective, more efficient.
Yeah, and of course now we are jeopardizing it, but we are in the position that we have the capability, the agriculture, the fertilizers and whatnot to continue human flourishing. But these crazies want to stop all that, and they want us to deindustrialize and also stop producing cheap, reliable, dispatchable energy, which is madness.
Yeah. Completely right. So we say, and the main people attacked right now are farmers, under the fake thing that farmers fart is a greenhouse gas, etc. Now that is, cows fart, and all that is just rubbish. So we have a good slogan, which is "Yes, farmers, yes, food. Break the climate con."
Yes, absolutely.
I'll be raising that in the by-election, the Clacton by-election, which you may not realise I'm standing in.
Yes, we did an independent.
Defend cars. The Clacton by-election.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But what are you standing as, an independent?
Yes, an independent.
Okay, all right. Well,
I'm hoping to get support from other independents, or maybe from my brothers, your party, because they got to support somebody, but that has to be discussed formally. You know.
Yeah. So apart from what's his name,
we're standing for the
Binface, you will
truth
be a more credible alternative to what's his name, Binface.
Binface, yeah.
Binface, yeah.
Well, the BBC are promoting him as the alternative to Farage. Well, I say, look, you've got the wrong bin. Corbyn.
Very good. Very
but
good.
It's, I mean, it is. I do not understand what Farage hoped to achieve by this. It may well backfire on him, but
I think it will backfire. Yeah, especially when we get into Parliament.
But that, as you say, that remains to be seen. We'll see what happens. But it's at least it's good to have a credible candidate. I mean, Binface thing. I mean, it's a bit like what was his Monster Reagan Looney Party that, oh
my God,
it's just a protest vote then.
Well, I don't know what Binface is about, really. It's a kind of weird narcissism, I think. I mean, he gets attention, but then no one knows who he is. But perhaps he'll reveal himself someday and say, "Look, I was Binface." Well, he might think people would cheer, and I would just say, "Well, good riddance" or something. But you know.
But, I mean,
anyway, if people want to follow us there, go to. We've got a fantastic little app. It's just one word: Piers Corbyn for Clacton.org.
Right.
FOR, not
Piers. No, Piers Corbyn numeral 4 Clacton.
No, not numeral 4. No.
Oh,
FOR.
All right. Piers Corbyn for Clacton.org.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Good. Well, we will wait with bated breath and see what happens over the next few weeks, Piers.
Yes, and I would just say I'm driving, and more restrictions to cars that going everywhere, such as the ultra low emission zone. I mean, as people know, I've run up huge bills on that and haven't paid. But what we say on that is drive at will, do not pay, and take down the cameras. And I've got a stack of ULEZ bills, and I'm just not paying them. They just send me more letters. That's what to do.
But I mean, essentially, this is the problem, because all of this stuff is being brought in by councils without any oversight, and they didn't trail it, to the electorate before they got in.
No, none of them.
And the one of the leading lights behind all this stuff, I think it's called UK 100 Cities, is Sadiq Khan, who is involved with C40 Cities org, which is a European thing, trying to basically make cities unusable by motorized road users. You're supposed to go everywhere on a bicycle or Shanks's pony. And it's just completely unrealistic.
That's right.
So what's
nonsense. We just have to attack these people. They are they're anti-human. They're anti. They're against prosperity. It's just crazy stuff. And you talk, look, they go on about this and that. I say, look, this clothing you're wearing, what's it made of? A lot of it is made of petrol. It's artificial.
Exactly.
Artificial stuff. And how did this food you got from Tesco's get here? Oh, look, there's the Tesco lorry coming past. I mean, we need petrol. We need diesel.
We
need more CO2 to make it grow. We don't want less.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Which is what Patrick Moore says, the guy who's one of the founding members of Greenpeace, for heaven's sake.
That's right. Very good.
And with my sort of background in chemistry and the chemical industry, there's about 6,000 essential modern products that we cannot produce unless we're extracting oil, because they're all derived one way or another from oil, fertilizers, plastics, medical plastics, antibiotics, things on which our society is totally dependent. If we stop exploiting oil, they disappear.
Absolutely.
So do we want to go back to the Middle Ages, live in skins and die at 40? It's madness.
Well, that's probably what they want.
Maybe it is, but they're not doing it on my watch if I can help it.
Well,
No,
it's
that's
too late for us to
too
die at 40.
Quite
That's
true.
not happening.
I identify as 29 anyway, so you can identify as what you want.
Oh dear.
So I think we've covered quite a lot of ground there, Piers. It's
Yeah.
really interesting.
Yeah.
Those the graphs that you showed on
Yes.
geomagnetic activity. If you could send us hard copy
will.
JPGs or whatever,
Yeah.
that would
Most
be
of
really
them
useful.
Are in the pamphlet, but the last two I
okay.
showed was shown in the Russian Academy of Sciences. They're in the presentation I gave there, which is still around. I'll send.
Oh, I think we've lost Piers.
You might have done.
Yeah.
Is he gone?
I don't know. It looks like he's frozen there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's a shame, but it's an interesting discussion. So, it's really good to get the alternative views of another, well-respected climate expert.
Absolutely, yeah.
But certainly the clever money on climate now does not really hold any store with the IPCC model of things, which is alarmist in the extreme.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you've got somebody who's actually studied it, as Piers has, then surely that should be listened to.
Yeah. But of course, the problem is his and our views are counter narrative, and they undermine all of this sort of Doom stuff that comes
Welcome
out
to the free world, Brian.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I think it's a goodbye from me.
Yeah, it's probably a goodbye. Unless Piers comes back in the next few seconds, then it's probably a goodbye from me as well. But it was really good to have Piers on the show. I'm sure we'll invite him back in the future. Be interested to see what happens with his foray into politics as well, which is going to certainly increase interest in what's going on in Clacton.
Oh, Charlotte's put a message saying his phone's overheated.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
all right.
Charlotte, if you can pass on our thanks to
Piers.
Piers.
Absolutely, please. And do say thanks very much to Piers, and we will invite him back at some point in the not too distant future.
Yeah. I mean, certainly whatever happens at Clacton, we'll want to have a chat with him after that.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
So thanks everybody for watching. Please do like and distribute the link on the podcast and visit the Unprecedented TV website. Put in Full Throttle in the search box, and you'll find all the other podcasts that we've done in the last sort of 6 to 9 months. And thanks to everybody.
Catch up with us at abd.org.uk.
Yeah. Cheers, everyone.
Bye.
Enjoy the rest of your day.